Welcome. This is James Corbett of CorbettReport.com and now on Twitter at CorbettReport.
And this is James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com, on Twitter at MediaMonarchy. And James, welcome to the Twitterverse. We're going to be able to do a lot of amazing work there, and it'll be just another tool that, as all of these things are, to help spread information. Welcome to NewWorldNextWeek.com. Of course, NewWorldNextWeek.com has all the audio and video and all the things you need to follow the links, do more research for yourself, and then spread this information out further. James, let's begin with our first story from Haaretz. ICC rejects Palestinian bid to investigate Israeli war crimes during the Cast-led Gaza operation. The International Criminal Court, the ICC, prosecutor announced Tuesday that he has rejected a bid by the Palestinian Authority to have the War Crimes Tribunal investigate Israeli conduct during Operation Cast-led. The reason for his decision was that under the ICC's founding treaty, the Rome Statute, only internationally recognized states can join the court. In an official statement released Tuesday afternoon, the ICC said that, quote, the current status granted to Palestine by the United Nations General Assembly is that of observer, not as a non-member state, and that only relevant bodies at the United Nations, or the group of states that make up the court, could determine whether Palestinians can sign up to the Rome Statute. The office has assessed that it is for the relevant bodies at the UN or the Assembly of States Parties to make the legal determination whether Palestine qualifies as a state for the purpose of acceding to the Rome Statute and thereby enabling the exercise of jurisdiction by the court. The statement said, the Rome Statute provides no authority for the Office of the Prosecutor to adopt a method to define the term state. Now, James, I have one related note, but can you expand on this story and kind of break it down for me? This was news to me.
Well, news to me too, but welcome to the world of international jurisprudence as lovingly administered by the United Nations. Oh, hallowed be their name. The ones that presume to be able to determine whether or not a state it can actually have their grievances heard, whether war crimes are worth prosecuting or not based on whether or not we think that Palestine is a state. And who gets to make that decision? Oh, it's, of course, the UN and the ICC. Oh, and it's going to be such an impartial process, right? Certainly nothing to do with pandering to Israel. Absolutely unbelievable stuff, isn't it? But what would you expect from an organization that has as one of its main charters the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which prefers all these wonderful, amazing rights given to all the people of the world, and then in the first 28 articles of the document, and then in Article 29.3 it says, yeah, but if anything in this goes against the United Nations, it doesn't apply to you. So basically, we're the authoritarian world government, we say what goes, and if you don't like it, none of this applies to you. And that's exactly how this all works, and perhaps not surprising to know that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was based on a draft document penned by none other than eugenicist H.G. Wells. It always goes back to the same cadre of the folks who basically want to kill off the vast majority of us because we're not good enough to be in their gene pool. And this is just a further extension of the way that that global governance, as they like to call it, and the international legal system works, whereby they get to determine whether or not you can prosecute a war crime in the International Criminal Court. Well, Palestine, not a state, we don't care. And of course, they'll do all the show trials of all, people in, warlords in Africa and things to try to legitimize their court. But ultimately, we know they're never going to go after Bush. They're never going to go after Blair. They're never going to go after Netanyahu. They're never going to go after any of the real war criminals who are committing vast crimes around the world. And this is all that global governance is ever going to be, because that's the way the system has been set up. So I think this is not surprising in any way. I think we all knew that it was going to reach this conclusion.
So you mentioned H.G. Wells. He's the author of those famous books like The Open Conspiracy and The New World Order. Oh, that's right. Those aren't his famous books, because we're not supposed to know he wrote things like that. James, a lighter, somewhat related note from ABC News. Israel Navy chief scolded over April Fool's prank. Israel's Navy commander's in hot water over his April 1st prank. Vice Admiral Rothberg thought it'd be funny to instruct his top commanders to prepare for a 10-day naval exercise in Italy, and then pulled the plug on April 1st. So, James, that kind of relates right back to the Rome Statute. And it also relates to the things that we've discussed here of seeing some, new destruction over water scenario. But as we move to our second story, we log on to my own cyberspacewar.com for ISPs warning the UK over government email surveillance plans. This originally coming from The Guardian. Internet firms have warned that government plans to monitor email and social media use in Britain are liable to be used by repressive regimes elsewhere in the world to justify their state surveillance. No internet business so far was willing to offer up public criticism on the record of the coalition's proposal, but many privately raised fears over the legalizing of a power to see who's contacting whom online in real time. It's a question of jurisdiction. There is a risk that if you offer this access to the authorities in Britain, then you have to offer it to countries like Syria and Bahrain, said an internet industry official who declined to be identified because this proposal has not been outlined in detail. A number of MPs and civil liberties groups have argued the plan would endanger privacy and unfettered free expression online. And we have links and provided, supplemental information for you to check out this story and to check out, some of the petitions online. And I think you can maybe see some kind of bare bones version of this, brand new outline. So, James, when I posted this, I put little quotes around the word plans, because as we've talked about now for these last several months, if not longer, they don't need SOPA and they don't need PIPA. They'll ultimately move on it, when they think they've got the social and political capital to be able to pull it off. So the related note to this, Intel, and it's always, dual meanings for words, James. Intel, the computer chip company. Intel's new kill switch chip could end computing as we know it. And they're setting things up to basically, whether it's our food or whether it's our computers or whether it's our money, they're setting up the infrastructure for pulling the plug.
That's exactly right, and exactly as you indicate, as you and I have been covering for years, and I'm sure many of the people who are watching this have been following for years. I mean, we know all of the things that are already going on in terms of surveilling, spying on, controlling the internet, getting ready for the kill switch, and getting the public prepared for it. And this plan is not surprising in any way in that sense. But what's interesting to me about this is the way that 2012 is really shaping up to be the year of attack on of unveiling the fact that the internet is basically a total surveillance spy grid, and getting the public to basically buy on with that concept and to continue using their Facebook and Twitter and everything to talk about what they had for breakfast or whatever. And that's the point to me. It's trying to get the public on board with this censorship and Orwellian stuff that's going online. And there's just so many different points to pick up, but one of them is that even foreignpolicy.com has this article about, if the U.S. is going to be lecturing countries around the world about internet censorship and how they shouldn't be censoring their citizens, maybe they should apply it to themselves. And of course, let's use that for the UK as well. And the hypocrisy there is so blatant that even, pretty mainstream milquetoast, bland journals like Foreign Policy are getting on the bandwagon, calling them out on their hypocrisy. So you know that something is up. And it's just a question really at this point whether the public is going to sign on to it and allow it to go ahead and just continue along as if, okay, well, now they're monitoring everything that goes online. We know that there already are, but it's really just putting it in our face right now and seeing if we'll accept it.
James, just wrapping this up again from this article from The Guardian. The proposal is expected to be outlined in the Queen's speech on May 9th. It allows the authorities to have on-demand access to online traffic in real time. So we still have to wait several more weeks, and I think it's the same thing if I can add an update to last week's story about Supreme Court versus Obamacare. I think it's going to be another couple of months before we hear how that shakes out. But in the meantime, James, they're saying, of course, it's constitutional to strip search anyone arrested for anything, anytime, anywhere. But let's, good God, not get into that. That story, James, really kind of sent a chill down my spine. But our third and final story this week, in lieu of our Food World Order appearances, James, ever since we've been doing the Food World Order segments on your live radio show Thursday night on Republic Broadcasting, we really haven't done any kind of food, environment, health stories here on New World Next Week. We, moved them to their own little spot. And again, people can get those episodes audio, video style through iTunes. And again, it's all linked up on foodworldorder.com. So in lieu of that, and something that we haven't done here on New World Next Week for a little while, a truncated article from EcoSalon, The War on Public Water. And it is up to us to say no to corporations buying up our public water and selling it back to us in plastic. In the context of World Water Day, which happened on March 22nd, 322, a report by the World Economic Forum ranked water shortage as one of the top global risks, right up there with widespread financial collapse and terrorism. And a recent U.S. intelligence report predicted that water shortages caused by population growth and climate change could spark terrorism and wars over the next 10 years. You probably know that many people worldwide don't have access to sufficient clean water for their daily needs, but the water wars are even in full swing here in the U.S., which they're trying to bring down a status. As global corporations such as Nestle, Crystal Geyser, and Coca-Cola obtain cheap water rights from strapped municipalities, bottle it, and resell it at a huge profit, turning what should be a human right into a global commodity. These companies are not only sucking up the water in our natural springs, but because they're meeting opposition in these efforts, they've turned to buying up our tap water, putting it in plastic, and selling it back to us. Just this week, it was announced officially, and it's been rumbling on for much longer here in the Pacific Northwest. Residents of Cascade Locks in Oregon are fighting a proposal by Nestle to bottle water from the Columbia Gorge. So even here in what sometimes feels like the dream of the 90s is alive in Portlandia, little haven, it's all still encroaching all around us.
It certainly is, and it's exactly right. The water is increasingly going to be one of the battlefronts of the 21st century and the type of economic warfare we're going to see over it. It's really interesting to see how this plays out. And I've been talking to Dr. Tim Ball on my website the last few months about this extremely important subject, water resources, and how water scarcity is shaping up to be the next type of alarmist scare that they're going to use to try to further their Agenda 21 plan and get that football further down the field. And I would suggest that people keep their eye on the Rio Plus 20 conference that's going to be taking place later this year. That's going to be that 20th anniversary conference of the Earth Summit in Rio 20 years ago that really kicked off or got the ball rolling on the IPCC Kyoto climate alarmism scare that really developed over the past 20 years. And now that more and more people are waking up to that scare and what that was all about and making money for the Gores and the Rothschilds, etc. As that slips further and further down the agenda of most people don't care about climate alarmism the way they did 10 years ago. Now that that's starting to fade, they need a new paradigm, a new alarmist scare. Water scarcity is going to be that, and there is going to be manipulation of water supplies, and it's definitely going to be an extremely important topic. So I hope people will listen to those Dr. Ball interviews and continue boning up on this. It's an extremely important subject.
And I see this in a way kind of tie into what I see as I kind of refer to as this destruction over water, these sort of Titanic memes as the anniversary approaches. And James, this is really, again, it's that film, The Hunger Games. We're all playing it already, and there's a movie in theaters that people think is all kind of make-believe, but it's all a part of this kind of conditioning going on. If folks want to go to navigatingnetflix.com and hit suggestions, there are a few other water-related films listed on there that you can watch on Netflix, on Instant Watch, Flow, For the Love of Water, and Blue Gold, and some other things, James, because that's a story, and all of these things tracking on all the sites on Media Monarchy, and on the radio show, and in music form, and in video form, and whether it's food or the money, it's may you live in interesting times. That's all I can say.
Well, we certainly are. And on that note, as you mentioned, we won't be doing Food World Order on Corbett Report Radio tonight, not this week, but we will be back next week. So looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks so much, James. Take care.